Good morning and welcome to another wonderful morning of the Daily Meditation Bible. I'm Joel Miller and we are walking together through the complete Bible in a year. Today is Wednesday, January 24th, 2024. And as time passes, when I say time passes, as I get a little older, there's certain things I realize. And one of the things I realize is life is not as neat and clean as I thought it was going to be. We think, wrongfully so, that, the right education or living in the right, neighborhood or having the right people will, make our path easy. But it's just a fantasy. We are called to stand, and we are called to stand as sheep among wolves, and we're told we must wrestle with darkness from without and darkness from within. And even though we are wrestling with darkness, we need to understand, you need to understand, I need to understand that we are not darkness. You are not darkness. You may have made mistakes. You may have stumbled. You may have done things and said things that no one else knows about. But you are not that sin. You are not that darkness. You are passing through, and your future is a destiny of overcoming. And you have a great story. You may not realize this, but you have a great story. And one day, I'm going to be able to, because we're going to be, in heaven together. One day I'm going to be able to hear that story. And one of the reasons why I know you have a great story, because there's just not going to be any mediocre stories in heaven. You don't walk up to Moses in heaven and say, "Hey, tell me your story." I just prayed, and the Lord always delivered me, and I just prayed for some money, and just kind of fell, and just everything just kind of worked out. It doesn't work that way. David said, "Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I shall fear no evil." And so you have a great story. That story is still fleshing itself out, but it's going to be a wonderful thing. And we're all going to be able to share the stories of God's encounter with us and how we overcame the great challenges and tribulations of living in this world. Today, we are reading from Genesis, beginning in chapter 48, verse 1 through 49, verse 33. We are in the New Testament continue reading in the book of Matthew, chapter 15, verses 29 through 16. Chapters 15, verse 29 through chapter 16, verse 12. My apologies. And then Psalms chapter 20, verses 1 through 9. And finally, Proverbs 4, verses 20 through 27. Our reading today beginning in Genesis, the 48th chapter, beginning in verse 1. After this, Joseph was told, "Behold, your father is ill." So he took with him his two sons, Manasseh and Ephraim, and it was told to Jacob, "Your son Joseph has come to you." Then Israel summoned his strength and sat up in his bed, and Jacob said to Joseph, "God Almighty appeared to me in Luz, in the land of Canaan, and blessed me. And he said to me, Behold, I will make you fruitful and multiply you, and I will make of you a company of people, and will give this land to your offsprings after you for an everlasting possession. And now your two sons, who were born to you in the land of Egypt before I came to you in Egypt, are mine. Ephraim and Manasseh shall be mine, and Reuben and Simon are. And the children that you fathered after them shall be yours. They shall be called by their name of their brothers in their inheritance. As for me, when I came to Padan, to my sorrow, Rachel died in the land of Canaan on the way, when there was still some distance to go to Ephrath, and I buried her there on the way to Ephrath, that is, Bethlehem. When Israel saw Joseph's sons, he says, "Who are these?" Joseph said to his father, "These are my sons, whom God has given me here." And he said, "Bring them to me, please, that I may bless them." Now the eyes of Israel were dim with age, so that he could not see. So Joseph brought them near him, and he kissed them and embraced them. And Israel said to Joseph, "I never expected to see your face. And behold, God has let me see your offsprings also." Then Joseph removed them from his knee, and he bowed himself with his face to the earth. And Joseph took them both, Ephraim in his right hand towards Israel's left hand, and Manasseh in his left hand towards Israel's right hand, and brought them near him. And Israel stretched out his hand, his right hand, and laid it on the head of Ephraim, who was the younger, and his left hand on Manasseh, crossing his hands, for Manasseh was the firstborn. And he blessed Joseph and said, "The God before whom my father Abraham and Isaac walked, the God who has been my shepherd all my life long to this day, the angel who has remembered me from all evil, bless these boys, and in them let my name be carried on, and the name of my fathers Abraham and Isaac, and let them grow into a multitude in the midst of the earth." And when Joseph saw that his father laid his right hand on the head of Ephraim, it displeased him, and he took his father's hand to move it from Ephraim's head to Manasseh's head. And Joseph said to his father, "Not this way, my father, since this one is the firstborn, put your right hand on his head." But his father refused and said, "I know, my son, I know. He also shall become a people, and he shall also be great. Nevertheless, his younger brother shall be greater than he, and his offspring shall be a multitude of nations." So he blessed them that day, saying, "By you Israel will produce blessing, saying, God make you as Ephraim and Manasseh." Thus he put Ephraim and Manasseh. Then Israel said to Joseph, "Behold, I am about to die, but God will be with you, and he will bring you again to the land of your fathers. Moreover, I have given you, rather than to your brothers, one mountain slope that I took from the hand of the Amorites with my sword and with my bow." Then Jacob called his sons and said, "Gather yourselves together, that I may tell you what shall happen to you in the days to come. Assemble and listen, O sons of Jacob, and listen to Israel your father. Reuben, you are my firstborn, my might, and the firstfruits of my strength, preeminent in dignity and preeminent in power. Unstable as water, you shall not have preeminence, because you went up to your father's bed, then you defiled it. He went up to my couch. Simeon and Levi are brothers. Weapons of violence are their sword. Let my soul come not into their counsel. O my glory, be not joined to their company. For in their anger they killed men, and in their willfulness they hamstrung oxen. Cursed by their anger, for it is fierce, and their wrath, for it is cruel. I will divide them in Jacob and scatter them in Israel. Judah, your brothers shall praise you. Your hand shall be on the neck of your enemies. Your father's sons shall bow down before you. Judah is a lion's cub. From the prey, my son, you have gone up. He stooped down, he crouched as a lion and as a lioness who dares rouse him. The scepter shall not depart from Judah, nor the ruler's staff from between his feet, until tribute comes to him. And to him shall be the obedience of the people, binding his foal to the vine, and his donkey colt to the choice vine. He has washed his garments in wine, and his vesture in the blood of grapes. His eyes are darker than wine, and his teeth whiter than milk. Zebulun shall dwell at the shore of the sea. He shall become a haven for ships, and his brothers shall be at Sidon. Issachar is a strong donkey, crouching between the sheepfolds. He saw that a resting place was good, and that the land was pleasant. So he bowed his shoulders to bear, and became a servant at forced labor. Dan shall judge his people as one of the tribes of Israel. Dan shall be a serpent in the way, a viper by the path, that bites the horse's heel, so that his rider shall fall backwards. I wait for your salvation, O Lord. Raiders shall raid Gad, but he shall raid at their heels. Asher food shall be rich, and he shall yield royal delicacies. Naphtali is a doe let loose that bears beautiful fawn. Joseph is a fruitful bough by a spring. His branches run over the wall. The archers bitterly attack him, shoot at him, and harass him severely, yet his bow remained unmoved. His arms were made agile by the hands of the mighty one of Jacob. From there is the shepherd, the stone of Israel, by the God of your father who will help you, by the Almighty who will bless you with blessings of heaven above, blessings of the deep that crouches beneath, blessings of the breast and of the womb. The blessings of your father are mighty beyond the blessings of my parents, up to the bounties of the everlasting hills. May they be on the head of Joseph and on the brow of him who sets apart from his brothers. Benjamin is a ravenous wolf, in the morning devouring the prey, and in the evening dividing the spoil. All these are the 12 tribes of Israel. That is what their father said to them as he blessed them, blessing each with a blessing suitable to him. Then he commanded them and said to them, I am to be gathered to my people. Bury me with my fathers in the cave that is in the field of Ephron the Hittite, in the cave that is in the field of Machpelah, to the east of Mamre, in the land of Canaan, which Abraham brought with the field from Ephron the Hittite to possess as a burying place. There they buried Abraham and Sarah his wife. There they buried Isaac and Rebekah his wife, and there I buried Leah. The field and the cave that is in it were bought from the Hittites. When Jacob finished commanding his sons, he drew up his feet in the bed and breathed his last, and he was gathered to his people. Reading from the Gospel according to Matthew, beginning in chapter 15, verse 29 through chapter 16, verse 12. Jesus went on from there and walked beside the Sea of Galilee, and he went up on the mountain and sat there. And great crowds came to him, bringing with them the lame, the blind, the crippled, the mute, and many others. And they put them at his feet, and he healed them, so that the crowds wondered when they saw the mute speaking, the crippled healthy, the lame walking, and the blind seeing. And they glorified the God of Israel. Then Jesus called his disciples to him. I have compassion on the crowd, because they have been with me now 3 days and have nothing to eat, and I am unwilling to send them away hungry, lest they faint on the way. And the disciples said to him, Where are we to get enough bread in such a desolate place to feed so great a crowd? And Jesus said to them, How many loaves do you have? And they said, 7, and a few small fish. And he directed the crowd to sit down on the ground. He took 7 loaves and the fish, and having given thanks, he broke them and gave them to his disciples, and disciples gave them to the crowds. And they all ate and were satisfied. And they took up 7 baskets full of broken pieces left over. Those who ate were 4,000 men, besides women and children. And after sending away the crowds, he got into the boat and went to the region of Magadan. And the Pharisees and the Sadducees came to test him, and they asked him to show them a sign from heaven. And he answered them, When it is evening, you say, It will be fair weather, for the sky is red. And in the morning, it will be stormy today, for the sky is red and threatening. You know how to interpret the appearance of the sky, but you cannot interpret the signs of the time. An evil and adulterous generation seeks for a sign, but no sign will be given to it except the sign of Jonah. So he left them and departed. When the disciples reached the other side, they had forgotten to bring any bread. And Jesus said to them, Watch and beware of the leaven of the Pharisees and Sadducees. And they began discussing it among themselves, saying, We brought no bread. But Jesus, aware of this, said, O you of little faith, why are you discussing among yourselves the fact that you have no bread? Do you not yet perceive? Do you not remember the 5 loaves for the 5,000, and how many baskets you gathered? Of the 7 loaves for the 4,000, and how many baskets you gathered? How is it that you fail to understand that I do not speak about bread? Beware of the leaven of the Pharisees and the Sadducees. Then they understood that he did not tell them to beware of the leaven of bread, but of the teachings of the Pharisees and the Sadducees. Reading now from Psalms, the 20th chapter, verses 1 through 9. May the Lord answer you in the day of trouble. May the name of God of Jacob protect you. May he send you help from the sanctuary and give you support from Zion. May he remember all your offsprings and regard with favor your burnt sacrifices. May he grant you your heart's desire and fulfill all your plans. May we shout for joy over your salvation, and in the name of our God set up our banners. May the Lord fulfill all your petitions. Now I know that the Lord saves his anointed. He will answer him from his holy heaven with the saving might of his right hand. Some trust in chariots and some in horses, but we trust in the name of the Lord our God. They collapse and fall, but we rise and stand upright. Our Lord, save the King. May he answer us when we call. Proverbs, the 4th chapter, beginning in verse 20 through 27. My son, be attentive to my words. Incline your ear to my sayings. Let them not escape from your sight. Keep them within your heart, for they are life to those who find them and healing to their flesh. Keep your heart with all vigilance, for from it flows the spring of life. Put away from you crooked speech and put devious talk far from you. Let your eyes look directly forward and your gaze be straight before you. Ponder the path of your feet, then all your ways will be sure. Turn your foot away from evil. The Daily Meditation Bible, what a joy it is to be with you and to be able to, walk through the scriptures together. We're seeing, Jacob at the end of his life, and he's gathering all his family together, and he wants to speak to all of his family. And it just speaks to the fact that how much our life does matter. And I know often we don't believe that, how we're able to speak into the lives of individuals, how we're able to speak life-giving messages into our own family, whether that's a family of choice or a family of choice. But I know a lot of people don't believe that's the case. Why? Because we focus on our shortcomings. We focus on our mistakes. We wouldn't allow other people to talk to us the way that we talk to ourselves. Why we don't see our own value is because that value is not communicated to us by others. We don't have people laying hands on us and blessing us and telling us, you know what, I see this in you. I see this characteristics in you. I see this uniqueness in you. We don't have that. Normally when you hear that, which you don't hear it, it's at your funeral. And that's when people are saying, oh, this person was so wonderful, but you never tell them why they're alive. But as followers of Christ, we have the ability to communicate, even in some small way, meaning into the life of other people, to simply tell them, and it might be as simple as telling someone that you love them, that, hey, listen, I know you made a mistake, but you're not that mistake, that you are forgiven. Second chances. Just like our Father is a God of second chances, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th. But we are people of second chances. We don't hold offense, but we, with our words, we uplift those who are in our sphere of influence, if you will. The multitude with limited resources, and he's healing, and he's teaching people, and he's gathering people, and he's telling his disciples and the people who are listening, beware of the leaven of the Pharisees and Sadducees. And I want to encourage you today to also, that we would heed, you and I, that we would all heed the words of the Lord, and that we would beware of the leaven of religious people. Religion will confine us, it will trap us, it will pronounce death over us, and rob us of all that is good. Now, I'm not saying don't go to church or anything like that. And what I am saying is that our calling is to lay our hearts before the feet of Jesus. And that is what he calls us to first, the surrendering of our hearts to the lordship of who he is. Go and do a work for Christ, but they don't really want to, with their heart, walk with Christ. And that is why when that judgment day comes, he's going to say to many, I don't know you. Even though they're going to say, listen, we did all of these works in your name, he's going to say, I don't know you, because your heart has not kissed my heart. And so we see today that God is still warning us, beware of the leaven of the religious. It is a false walk. It is not real. And we are on a different path. We are on a path of His Spirit leading us and to be servants and light in this dark world. Well, listen, it's such a pleasure again to be with you as always. And may the Lord continue to bless you as you go through this day. And I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. God bless.